Hey everyone, Emma here, also known as 8vinyllow, bringing all of you another video. Today's video is going to be my New Jersey / Philly vinyl haul video. Now, I went on this trip in the summer, and that is what the whole Youngest Members of the VC documentary was about. And I actually, throughout those 5 episodes of that miniseries, showcased my pickups. So if you have seen that miniseries, then you will have already seen my pickups. But I still did want to do my own individual vinyl haul video for my channel, maybe for those that have not watched the documentary. However, I highly recommend, if you have not seen the Youngest Members of the VC Take New Jersey documentary mini-series, 5 episodes, I am going to link it down below. Definitely worth checking out if you like music, shenanigans, and Rocky. So definitely check that out. And real quickly, I'm going to plug, while I'm thinking about it, the Youngest Members of the VC Mega Vinyl Bundle Haul contest. We actually extended that contest through September 30th. So it is now extended through the end of the month. So if you are interested in hopping in on that contest, I am going to link it down below. Definitely recommend jumping in on that. All it takes is a video entry with a couple of criteria, required criteria. Again, all of the information's in that video. I will link it down below. You have an opportunity to win 5 brand new records, one of which is signed. So if you are interested, go check it out. For those that have already entered, we've only received a handful, but I've loved watching the entries so far, hearing your stories, hearing your favorite parts of the documentary, also hearing about your friends and your best friends and albums that remind you of them, something kind of sentimental. I've really enjoyed that. So thank you to everybody who has jumped in so far. But again, if this is something that you are interested in, you still have time to do it. You have until Monday, September 30th to get your entry in. The last thing that I want to do before jumping into my vinyl haul is I want to give a channel shout out to a brand new channel here in the vinyl community. Well, I should say a brand new channel making videos. This is an individual that has been around in the VC for the last couple of years, especially this past year. Always the most supportive individual out there, one of the nicest guys that I know, and his name is Richard S. Richard is finally making videos. He finally jumped in and started to do that after a lot of peer pressure by myself, by Alex at Beer and Vinyl, Rob at Northern Revolutions. All of us have been kind of pushing Richard over the last year or so to make a channel for videos, and he finally did. He has already put out a handful of videos. They are great. He is already a natural, and I highly recommend checking him out. I'm also going to link Richard's channel down below. But with that, everybody, let's get into the haul. Okay, the first record that I'm going to showcase, and this actually is the first handful of records, are by this artist. I have been on a huge Tom Petty kick recently, really digging into and exploring his discography outside of just kind of his greatest hits and the familiar albums that I already knew. But in terms of Tom Petty albums in my collection before this summer, I only had the greatest hits, which is a crime. But I've always passed up on picking up Tom Petty. It's not that I don't like Tom Petty. That was one rabbit hole in my collection that I needed to get to, and I finally got to it. So the next few records are going to be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers related, also Tom Petty solo. But I did pick up Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. You're going to get it. This is the second studio album by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers from 1978. Not my most favorite Tom Petty release, but it still is a solid release in my opinion. It has When the Time Comes, You're Gonna Get It. Huge song off here. Hurt, Magnolia, Too Much Ain't Enough, I Need to Know. Another huge hit off of this album. Listen to Her Heart. I love that song. When I went to go see Mike Campbell earlier this summer in June, he played a version of that song that I really enjoyed. I love that. No Second Thoughts, Restless, and Babies, Rock and Roller. So I picked this up. It did come with the original insert. And then for my label people out there, There you go. Also, finally have this in the collection. I picked up an amazing sounding reissue of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Damn the Torpedoes. This is like a Tom Petty's, this album, studio album, serves as like a greatest hits for him. This is a must-have. This is a staple for any record collection. Finally have this in my collection as well, but of course it has Refugee, Here Comes My Girl, Even the Loser, Shadows of Doubt, Century City, Don't Do Me Like That, You Tell Me, What Are You Doing in My Life, Louisiana Rain. I mean, this album is so unbelievably great. I love that glossy finish, and this is the insert. And then again, for my label people, also grabbed from 1985, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Southern Accents. I feel like people either love this album or they hate it. And Alex over at Baron Vinyl recently picked this album up and listened to it and did a review in one of his videos. And he was so spot on with his kind of analysis of this. It's like the songs that are really good on this album are excellent. But the songs that are bad on this album, the bad songs, are really not great. So I totally agree with him on there. The opening track, Rebels, is so good. It Ain't Nothing to Me is okay. Don't Come Around Here No More. Southern Accents is a great song as well. But then you have songs like Mary's New Car or Spike that just don't necessarily hit as much. But again, Rebels, great opening track off of this album and a must-have for my growing Petty collection. Did come with the insert and the record. And of course, you cannot have a Tom Petty collection without Full Moon Fever, his debut solo studio album. Now, I've been on a huge Jeff Lynne kick recently, so obviously the producer credit on here also gives me the tingles. But come on, Free Falling, I Won't Back Down, Love is a Long Road, Face in the Crowd, another great song that Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs do on the road. Running Down a Dream, Feel a Whole Lot Better, You're So Bad, Depending on You, The Apartment Song, All Right for Now, A Mind with a Heart of Its Own, Zombie Zoo, 1989, Tom Petty. Man, this album is so good. This is a reissue. Here's the insert and the label. All right, moving on, we are going to get into a couple of Lemon Twigs album. No, not the most recent one that came out this year. It is still, A Dream Is All We Know. It is still hands down one of my favorite albums of the year. I would say right now it's sitting somewhere in the top 3, kind of moves around as other albums are released and as I listen to other albums that I love from this year. But this is pre A Dream We All We Know, A Dream Is All We Know. Lemon Twigs, the first album is their debut album, Do Hollywood. They released this in 2016, and this album is quite different from their Dream Is All We Know, Brian Wilson-esque, even like power poppy albums of the last couple of years. This is definitely a more true like rock and roll glam rock type album, and I remember a couple of people, since I really love the new Lemon Twigs, they were like, I don't know how I'll be interested in hearing your thoughts about their debut album or some of their earlier albums. And I do have to say I actually really still do enjoy these Lemon Twigs. So if you are on the Lemon Twigs bandwagon or have been for a while, but especially recently, if you are a newer fan because of their newest release, which is kind of what happened to me, they fell under the radar until this year for me, then definitely recommend checking out their first handful of albums. Start with the debut as always, but there are some really great songs on here. I Want to Prove to You is an excellent song. These Words As Long As We're Together, I really like. How Lucky Am I, a great snake it ends with. So again, this is still different from A Dream Is All We Know, so don't go into this album expecting that same vibe, but still an excellent release in its own right. I'll show you the insert here, and then really nice little custom label. And I love their old school logo. Love it. Still on the Lemon Twigs, so 2 years later, they come out with this sophomore release, 2018, Go to School. Now, if that first album was very true, like rock and roll, glam rocky, this is like a concept album. This is very, what's the term that I'm thinking of? It's very experimental. Okay, this is a concept album about a little chimp. Look at him, he's so cute. A little chimp that is basically raised as a human boy and goes through these different experiences and stages in life. It's unique. It's experimental. It's unique, but I'm gonna be honest. It's art. It's good. Look at him. If anything, do it for him. Anyway, highly recommend this album. This is another album that people were like, oh, you like A Dream Is All We Know and you like the debut. Will you like this album? Again, I really, really like it. I think these brothers, they know what's going on in terms of their musicianship, in terms of their songwriting. I am a huge fan. I am all in for the Lemon Twigs. Get a nice little gatefold here. There is, it does feature Jody Stephens of Big Star, which you guys know I adore Big Star and Jody Stephens. Just saw Jody Stephens this summer with the Big Star Quintet. So you definitely have a sort of all-star lineup on here, especially in the power pop sphere, but I wouldn't necessarily categorize this as a extremely power pop album like some of their newer releases. But excellent album by the Lemon Twigs. And again, here's the label. Let's get into two things that I absolutely adore. I adore power pop and I adore Illinois bands. And even more so, I adore power pop bands from Illinois. And one of those bands that immediately comes to mind that I finally picked up their debut album for is this great band out of Oak Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, Pezband. They are true power pop band. And I love, this album came out in 1977. I love these like black and white debut solo albums. If you think it immediately reminds me of Cheap Trick's 1977 debut, self-titled. Same thing here, the black and white cover, the band photo on top. I love the Pezband logo on here. And it was put out by Passport Records, which was a flagship of Gem Records, the original Gem Records, Gem Imports. So, love this band, Pezband. If you guys love power pop and you aren't necessarily familiar with Pezband, highly recommend checking them out. Baby It's Cold Outside's great. Tracer's awesome. I love that one. Princess Mary, Runaway, Gas Grill, When I'm Down, It's Only a Girl, Please Be Somewhere Tonight. I mean, you can go on and on and on in here. And I highly, again, recommend checking this band out. This did come with, I think, yeah, there is the insert with a little Pezband at the bottom. And here's the Passport Records label. Another great power pop band. Now this band is out of the UK. The band that I'm talking about is The Records. This is their second album from 1980, and it definitely looks like a 1980 release. Now, The Records, to me, they are a band that had and still is a little bit under the radar. Now, if you're in kind of the power pop sphere, you are familiar with this band, but for the most part, a lot of people don't talk. I don't see a lot of people in the vinyl community talking about this band, or maybe I'm just following the wrong people. So if you're a fan of The Records, let me know. But this is their second album, Crashes, from 1980. Their first release went by a couple of names. I can't remember the name of the release in the UK of their debut album, but I know in the US it was just called The Records. It was just self-titled. And that one has the song Starry Eyes on there. So if you look up The Records, look up Starry Eyes, maybe you've heard that before. But I actually really enjoy, now this is like a power pop meets new wave, obviously, right? 1980, you're gonna get that with these records. And I really enjoy, there is the opening track off here, which is called Man with a Girl-Proof Heart. What a banger. So if you appreciate good old-fashioned power pop mixed in with that kind of 80s little new wave in there, highly recommend checking out The Records, specifically this album. This is, again, their second album, Crashes. And here is the Virgin record label. Someday, someway, Look at my man, Marshall C. Look at that man. Okay, baby girl. All right, so Marshall Crenshaw, finally have this in my collection. This is another, like, record collection staple that I put off for so long. I finally had it. I used to have a copy of this, and when I was purging some records a couple of years ago, I ended up getting rid of it just because the copy that I had was pretty beat up, and I knew that I could pick up another album that was in decent condition virtually anywhere. So New Jersey / Philly, that was the trip that I decided to pick this up. For Marshall Crenshaw, this is his debut album. For Marshall Crenshaw, this serves as like a greatest hits. This came out in 1982. It has Someday, Some Way on there. It has There She Goes Again. She Can't Dance, Cynical Girl. So just a classic album, 1980s album, one of my favorites from the decade, and a great power pop album at that. Show the label here, the little Warner Bros. Label. Doesn't get better than that. This next record is one that I was not familiar with virtually at all before going on this trip, and a musician that I haven't really explored. Now, I've heard of this musician before, and I'm going to be talking about Kurt Vile. A lot of people love Kurt Vile, but I hadn't explored any of his material really before and didn't know anything about this particular album. Well, when we were in Philadelphia, one of the places that Dylan over at the Record Spinner, again, go watch the documentary, you can actually see footage from this, wanted to stop was the mural where the album cover, the photo, was taken for this album. And it was in Fishtown, and so we kind of went out of the way, went to Fishtown, found the mural, which took actually a little bit to find. And it was really cool to see in person. And so everybody on the trip ended up buying a copy of this album to remind us of the mural and going to Fishtown. And we actually had a blast in Fishtown. There was a bar called like the L Bar or something like that we went to afterward. It was a lot of fun. So this is actually a really enjoyable album. This makes me want to explore more of Kurt Vile's material. So if anyone has any suggestions, let me know. But the album that I'm talking about is Kurt Vile, Waken on a Pretty Days. This is the 10th anniversary classic double album version on limited edition yellow vinyl. So this is like a kind of an indie rock, folk rock, psychedelic release. So if you have any other Kurt Vile recommendations, something that's kind of like this, I really enjoyed this album, then please send it my way. And again, this is the 10th anniversary double yellow vinyl. Really nice looking record. This next album was put into my hands by Jenna over at Spins and Needle. Now, she is a huge soul girl. I love soul music, but that is an area in my collection where I'm like severely lacking. Soul and jazz, I would say, are the two where I really enjoy the genre. It's just, again, kind of going back to the rabbit hole thing. Rabbit holes that I haven't been able to fill yet because collecting is a never-ending rabbit hole when it comes to records, and there's so much music, and what do you do? But she put this into my hands and said, like, you have to get this. And I'm so happy I did. This is an absolute classic from 1966, the last studio album that this artist put out before he unfortunately passed. And I'm a huge fan of Otis Reading, and that is one of the greatest soul albums, Otis Reading, Dictionary of Soul, complete and unbelievable. So definitely had to pick this up. Thank you, Jenna, for getting that to me. And here is that Yellow Volt record label. Another must-have for any record collection ever. Finally picked this up for the collection. Black Crowes, Shake Your Moneymaker. This was an album that I've, again, wanted for a while, and I just kept passing it up, collecting other things. But I ended up, well, actually, it was funny. Dylan and I, we were both kind of looking at this album, picking this up for our collections because we both didn't have it, but we wanted it. And they only had one copy at the store, even though this is readily available. And so I ended up picking up this album, and he ended up picking that second release up. But this is the 30th anniversary pressing edition, newly remastered from the original production tapes. It has one of my favorite songs of all time, I would say in my top 100, which is She Talks to Angels. Hits me every single freaking time. Just so good. That is a song I could listen to 1,000 times in a row and never get sick of. Let's see, it did come with this insert, and then show you the label here for Black Rose. So we did a little handshake on this. The last 4 records are a little random. These are just kind of fillers into my collection. I'm a huge Beach Boys fan. I don't have a lot of the earlier Beach Boys albums. That's kind of the next section that I'm collecting. I have a lot of their like 70s material that I really enjoy. I have like Friends, Sunflower, albums like That Holland. And so I'm like, I need to start collecting their older material. And so I finally picked up the Beach Boys Surfin' USA. Got a great deal on this. Doesn't get better than this. Surfin' USA. It has what else on here? Oh, Farmer's Daughter's on here. Shutdown, Surf Jam. So I think this was 1963. But I mean, this is the reissue on the yellow capital. But again, I think I got this for like $6, and it plays and sounds great. I've also been on a huge Debbie Peterson of the Bengals kick recently over the last kind of year after seeing her drum for Matthew Sweet in April. And so I also picked up the Bengals Different Light. This also kind of serves as their greatest hit album, as you can read on the hype sticker on here. It's in the original shrink hype sticker. Has Manic Monday, If She Knew What She Wants, Walks Like an Egyptian. Absolute classics in the Bengals catalog. They also do a cover of Big Star's September Girls on here, which I adore as well. So because of my love for Debbie Peterson, I like the Bengals, but especially because of seeing Debbie Peterson when I saw this at the store. It was a great price. I ended up picking that up, and this is on the red Columbia label. Final 2 albums that I'm going to showcase. Doesn't get more New Jersey than these albums. This album was given to me for free by the owner of one of the shops. I was talking about Bruce Springsteen and Born to Run, having a sentimental connection to that album and Bruce Springsteen's greatest hits because of my dad and growing up. And because of that, he handed me, and it was sealed at the time, but I've since listened to it, Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, Men Without Women. And I think off the top of my head, this was the debut album by Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul that came out in 1982. So really cool addition to the collection. And again, thank you to, and I forget his name, but the vacuum shop guy for putting this into my hands. The last album that I picked up is one that when we decided we were going to New Jersey, I said, I am picking this album up on that trip. This is an album that I love, that I did not have prior, that I probably would have picked up, but I waited a whole year from the New Orleans trip to New Jersey because I wanted to specifically buy this in New Jersey. It doesn't get more New Jersey than this. And that is Nebraska. Okay, that is Nebraska. There's nothing more New Jersey than Nebraska. All right, Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. I love this album, but it does have the song Atlantic City on there, so I think I get a pass for that, and it is the boss. Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. Ended up picking this up on my trip. Again, this was like, not like a grail because it's hard to find, but just like, it was such an experience for me to pick up this album specifically on that trip. So, finally have this in the collection. Did come with the original insert, my guy. And again, that beautiful red Columbia label. With that, everybody, that is it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on my vinyl haul from New Jersey and Philly over this summer. Again, a couple of quick reminders. If you have not seen the youngest members of the VC miniseries, 5 episodes, you want to see these hauls, you want to see us pick these up, you want to see the other members and what they grabbed, I'm going to link that down below. If you would still like to join the youngest members of the VC Mega Vinyl Bundle Haul Contest, win 5 brand new records, 1 signed record. I'm also going to link that video with the guidelines and criteria below. And again, shout out to Richard S. Keep doing what you're doing. Go give him some love. Go give him a sub. He is awesome. I hope that all of you are doing well, and I will see you all for my next video. Bye, guys.